Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to this week's Midweek 180. As you can see, I am at home this week. I've had a pretty busy week so far, filming. I've got lots of editing to do, lots of prep on the run up to Christmas. But I wonder what we're going to be talking about this week. If you've not seen one of these before, this is my midweek update where I bring you my news, views and information about upcoming reviews, all filmed in one take. I'm going to put 180 seconds in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And that's it, a very simple format. So without further ado, let's get cracking with this week's Midweek 180. I shall start my timer. Okay, last week's leader of the pack was Ben Higginson. Congratulations, mate. Joined in the Magnificent Seven by Michael Kember, Francois G, Paul Mead, Leanne Jackson, Ian McWilliams and Paul Coles. So whoever puts the first comment this week, you'll be my leader of the pack next week. And the first 7 comments, you will be in my Magnificent Seven. Where are you and what you're doing? Well, that was Alan Sheard, who was on his turbo about to do a Zwift meetup. Shouldn't you be concentrating on your Zwift session, mate, not watching the Midweek 180? But I admire your dedication wherever you are right now, and whatever you're doing, put it in the comments below and I'll give you a shout out next week. Last week's question was about whether you've put summer tyres or kept your summer tyres fitted all seasons or fitted winters. It was a mixed bag. I think a lot of people just stay on their summer tyres, especially in the UK. There was a lot more all seasons than I thought. And then winters, for most parts of the UK, I think winters are probably a little bit too much, but there are quite a few of you watch from abroad and have fitted winters. This week's question, well, basically the main subject matter of this Midweek 180. What did you think of the Formula One? Oh my days. Where do I start? Do you know what? I'm going to start by stopping the timer, because there's no way I'm going to use that today. There we go. Timer's stopped. So, who watched the Grand Prix at the weekend? I mean, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you are on. It was a sensational weekend. I want to talk about qualifying just briefly, because it's a really interesting qualifying session. But I have to say, the way Red Bull worked together and Verstappen got a toe off of Perez, I just thought was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and they thoroughly deserved the pole position. The way they did that was very, very clever indeed. And then we get to the start of the race. Little did we all know. I mean, if you look at the comments from last week's Midweek 180, there was an awful lot of things about what this race could be like, and none of them predicted how amazing the race was. So the start, Lewis got a really good start and Verstappen didn't, and Lewis led into the first corner, and it was all going really, really well until a few corners in. Basically Verstappen sent one up the inside, a very bold move coming from a long way back. I think he caught Lewis by surprise a little bit, and pretty much stole the corner, and although he kept on the track, Lewis had no option but to bail and cut across the runoff and then rejoin the circuit. And Mercedes and Lewis's argument was that he gave back any advantage he made. Verstappen's argument was that he basically took an advantage because he ran off the circuit. Now, part of me thinks that if they didn't have these massive runoff areas and they had just like a load of kitty litter, Lewis would have had no option but to bail out much earlier or go in the kitty litter and probably get stuck. So I'm not sure where I stand on that one. Lewis did give the advantage back. There was no further action by the stewards, and off we went racing. I thought I stopped that one. And off we went racing. And I can imagine if you're a Verstappen fan, you're spitting teeth and feathers and all kinds of things because you think Lewis shouldn't have had the place back. And if you're a Lewis fan, you're thinking, well, he got away with that one. It's safe to say, though, no matter which side of the fence you sit on, Lewis had the faster car and was basically pulling away. And I think, had no other incidents happened in the race, it would have been easily Lewis's race. He had the far superior car. But these things, obviously change. And a little bit later on in the race, obviously, once there's been a few pit stops, it came time for Checo Perez to do some of the best driving I've ever seen in a Grand Prix, certainly in the last few years, holding up Lewis. Now, you might argue that it was maybe not the most sportsman-like thing for him to do. And actually, if you look at, I think he tweeted, he said, kind of apologised to Lewis for doing it, but he was playing the team game, and ultimately it is a team sport, and he needed to hold up Lewis. He positioned his car fairly, he drove brilliantly and held Lewis up. And the thing I found out afterwards, which I just think is incredible, is in half a lap, Max caught them up by 6 seconds. So it just didn't look like he was slowing him up that much on TV, but he caught up by 6 seconds, and that made a huge, huge difference. So absolutely hats off to Perez for doing that. But still, Lewis is in front, and you think, well, he's got the race, it's okay. And even Christian Horner on the pit wall on Sky Sports kind of said something like they really need the kind of, gods to look down on them and smile and give them something special. And well, that's exactly what happened. Latifi crashed with a few laps to go. There was a safety car. Should Lewis have pitted? Well, he had track position. If Lewis had pitted, I'm sure Max wouldn't have pitted, and then he would have had track position and probably would have won. But you can't foresee what's going to happen. So Lewis didn't pit, Max did, and they came out behind the safety car. And I'm sat there watching, thinking, do you know what? It's going to finish behind the safety car. It took a while for them to clear up the mess on track, and then what happened next, I think, is just not great for the sport, if I'm honest. First thing is, I think the way that the teams talk to the FIA and it's basically put out on TV, I really don't think that's great for the sport. I don't think they should be allowed to do it full stop, but if they should do it, then it should be behind closed doors. I don't think that's not part of the entertainment. That's like a Premiership football manager badgering the referee during the game. I just don't think it's appropriate. And it was from both sides. So I'm not going to sit here just as a kind of Lewis fan in this scenario. Both sides were guilty of it. And then Michael Massey made the call to let the cars between Hamilton and Verstappen overtake. But if you read the regulations say all cars should be allowed to overtake, and that's the bit that's upset lots and lots of people. Whether he should have allowed them to overtake anyway. And then he called the safety car in super quickly, and basically Lewis was a sitting duck. And for that last lap, Lewis had no chance whatsoever. He put up a valiant fight, but Max won. My take on it is, I'm obviously very, very disappointed. I'm a Lewis fan, and I wanted Lewis to win. My take on it, though, is put that to one side. I don't know really why that decision was made. If it was made so that there was a show at the end and it didn't finish behind a safety car, and it was made for entertainment's sake, and they bent the rules to do that, because it doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit, read the regulations, they bent the rules. The FIA made a decision that was against what the rules actually state by only letting the cars in between Max and Lewis overtake. And then bringing the safety car in as they did, and I think it's unfortunate. So, what happens next? Well, obviously Mercedes appealed, and I at this point I'm starting to think, look, it is what it is. The decision's been made. Hats off to Max Verstappen. He's driven brilliantly throughout the season. He's got 10 wins to Lewis's 8, and he's a worthy champion. He's one of the 4 youngest Formula One champions ever, and Red Bull and him have done an amazing job this year. Gutted for Lewis. For me, I think the title was taken away from him. I really do. I think he deserved to win on the day. He had a better car. He drove better on the day, and had it not been for that decision made by somebody else, he would have won the race and obviously won the championship. So you do have to feel gutted for Lewis. However, one of the things I would say is, if you were watching and you watch some of the footage, at one point you could see Lewis and his dad Anthony kind of talking to each other, and it was that kind of father-son moment. And I'd love to have been a fly on the wall to see what was being said, but I bet it was along the lines of, "You've done us proud, hold yourself head up high and carry on, and you will be champion again." Because the way Lewis deported himself after that race, having had that just happen, I just think was incredible sportsmanship. And actually, I think the way that Lewis has kind of deported himself over the sort of season in general has been phenomenal. So yeah, it is what it is. And there are rumours that Lewis has basically told Mercedes to stop the whole kind of appeals route, and just to say, look, it's done. Red Bull won, Max is world champion, we're Constructors world champion, let's move on and let's go to 2022 and go back at them. But yeah, it's I'd love to know what you think. put what your thoughts are in the comment. I'm trying to be as unpartisan as possible. I think what happened was wrong, and I think actually whether you're a Lewis or a Max Verstappen fan, the honest answer to what happened on Sunday is it was wrong. The wrong decision was made. It was in contravention to the rules that are laid out, and that's wrong. I haven't even gone near whether or not Max Verstappen overtook Lewis when the safety car pulled in and they were doing the little cat and mouse thing before Lewis went. I mean, that was one of the appeals that Mercedes put in. I'm not going to comment on that. It looked like he did, but in the heat of the moment, I'll kind of give him that. But yeah, it was not the way that I think any of us wanted the season to finish, and I think it's a great shame. I think things need to change next year. I think the way that the FIA kind of rule or look after everything, I think is in need of a review. I think there's been a couple of very, very dodgy decisions by the FIA over the last couple of races. And I think somebody needs to take a really good look at it. Is it a sport or is it entertainment? There are multi-million pound, sponsorship deals and television rights and all those things, I know, and that makes it all very, very complicated. But at the end of the day, it should be using the same rules as when anybody goes motor racing at their local circuit at the weekend. Just because it's Formula One and there's lots of money riding on it doesn't mean that the rules should be changed or should be tweaked a little bit to provide some great entertainment. Because I think Formula One will be the poorer for it. So there you go. There's my thoughts. A very sad end to the year. Huge congratulations to Max Verstappen. Commiserations to Lewis. I can't wait for next year. I can't wait to see George Russell in a Mercedes. I can't wait to see what these new cars are going to be like. There's loads of regulation changes next year. The bigger wheels and much different aero, a lot of underbody aero. So, will the cars be able to follow each other a little bit better? Will we get closer and tighter racing? It's super exciting, and I think for me as a Brit, we've got two Brits in one of the fastest cars with Lewis and George Russell. If McLaren can keep on making some strides forward and Lando gets a decent car, that's super exciting. So yeah, roll on next year. So we're going into the winter and we can kind of all take a massive chill pill, and hopefully by the time the winter, the kind of the testing comes along in the spring, we can chill out. Anyway, what's coming up on Friday? I hear you cry, as this massively the longest midweek 180 ever. Just a quick one. Monday's video. If you've not seen that one before, I announced my new Hendy car. I picked that up last week. You need to tune. I won't say what it is in case you haven't watched the video yet, but all I can say is I've driven it a fair bit since I picked it up on Friday, and I absolutely love it. It's a very, very good car. I can't wait to do the full review because there's so much to talk about. It's not faultless by any means. There's plenty of things I'm not that keen on, but it's generally a very, very good car. But this Friday at 6, I drove it. This week I went to an electric car showcase by BMW, and I drove two really exciting cars from BMW. This week I'm driving the i4 50M, which is M50, which is basically the first all-electric M car. It's like a 4 Series Grand Coupe format with a fully battery electric vehicle powertrain, and it was a sensational car. And then I also got to drive the iX, and that will be coming to the channel next week. So a couple of really, really interesting cars from BMW coming to the channel. But I've overstepped my mark by miles. But I wanted to have a really good deep dive into the Formula One. I was trying to be as unpartisan as possible, and I'd love to know what you think. So put it in the comments below. But for now, I'm going to leave you there. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care. Drive safe.